Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a game day edition of Birds 365. We do not get to say that very often, John McMullen, a game day edition. Well, we have one here, Thursday night showdown between the Eagles and the Commanders. Tonight, Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday game day, brother?
I'm doing well, except for my green screen. I need a StreamYard expert. What's going on, man?
Something's going on over there in the water over in South Jersey. Johnny Mac can't get this sucker to work. A game day green screen, we called it, for John McMullen, day number 2 with that. We'll get that fixed up, but no worries. At least we can see it and we can hear you, Johnny Mac. John, big game today. We have a great show planned. We'll have Martin Frank in here. We'll take some questions in hour number 2 for the people. We'll drop our predictions, our much-awaited predictions for the game tonight. Should be a good one, John. How do you see it tonight? What's on your mind as we start the show today and prepare for a big Thursday night matchup, maybe the Eagles' biggest matchup of the year so far?
Yeah, so far, I mean, first place is on the line. I don't think anybody expected that, but that's where we are, and the Commanders are much better than expected. But I do think this is an opportunity for the Eagles to sort of send a statement, whatever you want to say. I mean, they're the team that's been here, done it. They've been in these positions before. Washington's sort of new to it, at least this group. Obviously, they have some veteran players, most notably Bobby Wagner, who's done it at a high level at the biggest moments. But offensively, it's about the quarterback, and it's a rookie, and Jaden Daniels, who's spectacular. But, you know, this is interesting from the Vic Fangio perspective. You know, he's licking his chops on all rookie quarterbacks and trying to confuse them and trying to do some different things. So it's going to be an interesting one. And, you know, but at the end of the day, I think the Eagles have the better team, the more talented team. They're playing at home. It's a short week. There's no reason they shouldn't win this football game. And, you know, that's the expectations they face most weeks. And if they don't, Friday's going to be fun.
Well, I do think
post game's going to be fun.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a good litmus test, not only for the Eagles, but I think for both teams, right? The Commanders this is their first year of relevancy in a long time, and they haven't particularly played a murderer's row of teams. So I think they're probably looking at this game like a good litmus test, especially
that happens everywhere. It drives me nuts. That the Eagles haven't played a murderer's row during their 5-game winning streak.
But the Eagles have been a winning organization for a longer period of time.
Very long time. But they went through the same thing in 2022. They didn't play anybody. Well, if you don't think anybody's anybody, you can't beat anybody. That's what I say to those fans. These are NFL teams. It's hard to win, as Nick says all the time. And, you know, believe me, if they win this game, even if they win this game emphatically, you're going to have a group of people. Well, Washington's not right. They're going to say that. It's like, well, who can you beat other than Kansas City and Baltimore and maybe Buffalo and who am I met? Detroit, obviously. That's it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now you got to extend it further than that. I hear what you're saying. But look, I do think it's going to be a good litmus test, especially because it's NFC East, right? I mean, anytime you have a division matchup, anytime your division's on the line, the pressure is heightened, and I think that's going to be the case tonight. John, I have a feeling tonight is going to have some key players. Now, what I mean by that is somebody's going to take over the game for the Eagles. Somebody's going to take over the game for the Commanders. Maybe it's as simple as the quarterbacks. Maybe it's A.J. Brown. Maybe it's Bobby Wagner for the Commanders. Who do you see tonight? Who you get your eyes set on tonight as we prepare for the game on both teams in order to kind of take over the game tonight and put their team in a good position to win?
Well, certainly, you know, I think a lot of people should be and are interested to see Jaden Daniels. You know, he has completely changed this organization from being a laughing stock to being a playoff contender as a rookie, and that's pretty impressive. Any way you slice it. That doesn't mean he's perfect. Doesn't mean he does everything right. Well, he had a bad game. Of course he had a bad. He's a rookie quarterback. Right now PFF's got him third in the NFL as a rookie quarterback. That's pretty stinking good. Um, you know, but I do think this is going to be a large test for him. So it's obvious from Washington's standpoint, and the culture change from Daniel Snyder. Not that his Sixer fans are suffering through, not that Josh Harris is a great owner, different sport, different circumstance, but he's not a disaster. And the upgrade from Daniel Snyder's significant. They look like they hit a home run with their GM, Adam Peters, at least early on, making a lot of good decisions. And has gotten this team turned around very quickly. And it's pretty impressive, to be honest. So, but obviously Jaden Daniels is the headliner. Defensively, you brought up, Bobby Wagner. The respect that he sort of brings with him is palpable. Nick Sirianni's talked about, Jalen Hurts talked about it. This guy's been doing it at an extremely, extremely high level for a very long time. And it's like when guys like him come in, you question, you don't question Howie a lot, but you do question when you see the Fred Warners and the Bobby Wagners and say, well, come on, dude. Why don't you recognize the impact of players like that? And even Frankie Luvu, their other linebacker, is
good player.
A very good player, and
Yeah.
they brought him in. So that's the strength of their defense. For years, it's been the front, but that they've suffered some attrition there. At one point they had 5 first-round picks up front. We always talked about that when they were a bad team. Jonathan Allen's still there, but he's been injured. Deron Payne is still there, but they've sort of regressed from that standpoint. They have found something in Dante Fowler as a pass rusher.
Yeah, he's almost got 9 sacks already this year, I think.
Yeah, and obviously he's always had talent, but never really turned the corner, and they seem to have found the right role for him. And he's been a big impact on that defense, but I would say it certainly starts with the linebackers.
No doubt about it. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. We got a great crowd in here today, and it's game day, everybody. I love a little game day, Birds 365. Like I said, we don't get a lot of them. I mean, there's only so many Thursday or Monday games, or we had a Friday game to start the year, but there's only so many of those games that we are doing a Birds 365 on the day of and the day after the game. So it'll be a great next couple of days here on JAKIB Sports. A big game tonight for everybody. Make sure you guys smash that like button for us. It's game day. You got to smash that like on game day. We should set a record as far as I'm concerned, either today or tomorrow, for likes on Birds 365. So big thanks to you guys. Quinn, I see you. Prince, good to see you. Prince, appreciate you, brother. Saquads is in here. Deshay Shavers, Bobby Murphy, good to see you. Twiz the Jigga, Dank Bird Gang, Cali Baby, all of our usuals are in here, and a couple more names here on game day. John, I'm looking at the keys to the game, and we'll get into this obviously later in the show, and we'll get kind of more specific later in the show. But, just from my perspective, and I'll give you a couple that I'm thinking about, and you can tell me what you think of them. Offensively, a key to the game for me, for the Eagles, is start fast. You got to get on the board early tonight. And then defensively, it's set the edges and stop the run, because I don't think, everybody talks about the 53% blitz percentage that Pittsburgh ran last week. I don't think Vic Fangio is doing that. If Vic Fangio is going to confuse this rookie quarterback, I think it's going to come in the way he lines up the secondary and coverages and nickel packages and some of those things. And that means you got to set the edges, keep them in the pocket, and maybe you can confuse them with some different zone looks there in coverage. Am I on to something, or you think it's deeper than that?
Well, yeah, I'd say you don't just copy. I don't think that's feasible. I think that's one of those silly things, and people just repeat it. And Nick Bosa, the blueprint. Well, I don't have Nick Bosa, so I can't play like San Francisco. I don't have T.J. Watt, so I can't play like Pittsburgh. And Vic knows that better than anybody. And Vic, better than most, doesn't care what other people are doing. So, he's going to develop his plan for this particular quarterback, and it's going to look different than somebody else's so-called blueprint. He doesn't copy people. He's the one people copy. So I would love to tell you what Vic is going to do. That's the brilliance of Vic Fangio. I don't think anybody knows, other than obviously his coaches and players, from week to week. Jalen Hunt is the perfect opportunity of this. I still see people talking about Jalen and the pass rushing aspect and him playing so much and how excited they are to get. He didn't even play in pass rushing situations. He played as a run defender. He played as an edge on first and second down. And like, I used to go through this with Jim Schwartz when they had a bunch of injuries. I always bring up during Devontae Maddox's rookie year, and we're like, man, they don't have any safeties. What are they going to do at safety? And they roll out there on game day, and Devontae Maddox is playing safety. And I didn't hear anybody even bring that up as an inkling as it might happen. Vic's a lot like that. And the fact that, Zach Bond, even a better example, every they're signing him as an edge rusher and a special teams demon. And Vic says, you know what? I think he's an all-ball linebacker. And he's been the Eagles' best all-ball linebacker in 2 decades, whatever, through 9 games. We'll see if it can continue. So don't worry about Vic Fangio copying somebody else. He's not doing that. He's going to develop what he feels is the best plan. And certainly the whole concept of his defense is to confuse quarterbacks. And that's good. That's not good. Jaden's very good, but experienced quarterbacks, never mind rookie quarterbacks. So I think he sees it as even more of an opportunity to disguise as much as possible when it comes to coverage. And that's what this defense is based on.
Yeah, we'll see how they do it tonight. John, I mentioned the Eagles' offense got to get on the board early. I think this is one of those games you want to, if there's ever a time to load up on those first quarter scoring or get on the board in that first drive, maybe even a Jody Mack, take the ball.
No, well, that ain't.
And I know they're not going to do it, but I'm saying, get on the board early. Both of these teams have been, not as much the Commanders, but playing with the lead a lot, and it's kind of given their run game a lot of life. Like I mentioned yesterday, maybe the one thing yet we haven't seen with this Eagles offense is they've had the lead so much in the last 5 weeks. We haven't seen them yet have to come from behind. To your point, we haven't seen them not be able to rely on the run game and have to pass the ball to get back into a game. So if the Birds, if there's ever a night to start quick and get the lead, I think it's tonight. What say you?
Well, you always want to start quick, so that's baked into it. But if you're looking at this particular team's history, they don't start quick. So, are they going to start? Well, the odds are say no. They haven't been able to figure that part of it out for the most part. It's been getting a little bit better over the past few weeks. And last week on their first drive, they had at least a couple first downs, I believe. Might have been, they had a couple first downs. One of them due to penalty, though. So it's almost, Dallas shooting themselves in the foot than anything. And if you look at it, I'm trying to pull it up real quick. I can't remember. So they got, this has been a disaster. For whatever reason, the first drive has been really bad. So they start running the football. Everybody wants them to running the football. No gain or behind the sticks, lost a couple inches. They're behind the sticks again. 2nd and 10, they run it again. They're disciplined, pretty nice run. And set up 3rd and short, and then Jalen Hurts scrambles for the first down. So they got a first down, which is positive. This is positive for this team. Then they go back and they get the illegal contact call. So things seem to be moving, and they get sacked. Bang, behind the sticks. 1st and 10 turns into 1st and 15 because it was a 5-yard sack. Then Fred Johnson, false start. You're 2nd and 20. Then Jalen Hurts sacked again. You're 3rd and 33. This is the first drive. I mean, every week they're behind the sticks at some point, it seems. So do they want to start well? Of course. Are they going to start? Odds are they're not going to start well. I'm they've been terrible. Right. And maybe we'll talk about that. I see our buddy Martin Frank has popped in. I can't explain it. But when you're 3rd and 33 for all the script people, guess what? You're off script. Kellen Moore doesn't have a 3rd and 33 play, nor does anybody in the history of mankind.
Good stuff. We'll get to Martin Frank in a second here. John, just want to get an update from you on the injury report. I know Mailata was kind of placed back on yesterday. What's the update with him? Will he play? And then any update do you have on the Commanders' injuries front? I know Lattimore is out. Yeah. But what's the injury report look like for tonight's game?
Well, the Eagles are completely healthy. All 53 players are available. That's amazing.
It's amazing, right?
At this stage of the season. Jordan Mailata is back. I don't know why Nick can't give us a heads up a couple hours early, but they activated him in the afternoon. But I digress there. He's going to be back at left tackle. The biggest issue with Washington is, ironically, tackles. Brandon Coleman, Cornelius Lucas, Andrew Wiley, arguably their 3 top tackles are all questionable. So I assume some of them are going to play. Maybe 1, 2 are going to play. Maybe 1 isn't. Not sure there. But they're much more, again, the opponent is much more banged up than the Eagles. The Eagles will have all 53 active players available. And, the inactives will be the typical ones. No worries about key players.
Good stuff there. One super chat, and then we'll get to our break and get to Martin Frank from Delaware News Journal. Brian Fleming checks in. J Mac, I'd love to see 52 and 61 fronts. Holy moly, loading up that D-line like New Orleans. Pinch ends like Z said, and have big on big and middle to stop the run and pressure Jaden Daniels. Carter should eat tonight. I want to see single and 2 high rotations. What do you think of that, Johnny Mac?
Well, when Vic rolled out the 6-man front in New Orleans, it was more concerned about the stretch game. And that was the same sort of mentality when he brought it out way back during the Rams' first Super Bowl run where they lost and the Patriots copied in the Super Bowl. It's usually for the stretch running game. So I don't think you're going to see that. You might see 5-man fronts. That depends on, how many. If you're 2nd in 10 or 2nd, you're going to 4-man. So that depends. It sort of depends on the situation of the game. But they'll be focused and they're going to have to deal with the other half, so to speak, because this is what teams have to deal with the Eagles, the +1 in the running game with Jalen Hurts. Now the Eagles have to deal with it. And it's difficult, especially when you have a quarterback as explosive as Jaden Daniels. And just because Pittsburgh held him to whatever doesn't mean you're going to hold him to whatever.
Good stuff there, Brian Fleming. Thanks for the super chat, brother. I thought that was a good one there. Good take on the defense tonight. Johnny Mac, you're getting good reviews on the Kelly green screen, which is no longer working. Dank Bird Gang, one of our great supporters here.
Yeah, wasn't Kelly Green on purpose. It's just a green screen.
It was not just a green screen, but it does look good. Let's get to our commercial break, everybody. Hit that like button for us. It's game day. Today should be a great 2-hour show. Coming up next is Martin Frank from Delaware Online. He'll join us in a second. Before we get to our break, let me tell you guys about the great people at BetUS sponsoring the show today. A big thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the program. You can see the promo code I put on your screen there. It's YouTube 150, and that gives you a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit, and you get 125% on your second and third deposits, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. We appreciate them for sponsoring the show today. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody, on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.